Hello again. Well, we've hammered home the message of syncopation in terms of ragtime, of tying of those beats together. I wanted to, in this little clip, to go a bit deeper into what is predominantly, I suppose, associated with improvisation, which is jazz, and in terms of the feels, and we're going to look primarily at shuffle and swing. Now, we know we've got these very even notes that are creating the syncopation for ragtime, our old pattern. Okay, very simple, but the eighth notes are metrical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to move away from that feel a bit to use a shuffle feel, which sounds like this. Okay, we can hear that feel. It's a very sort of Nina Simone, shuffly, my baby just cares for me sort of feel. But what's happening rhythmically there? What's making it sound like that? Well, we've got all our old friends of octaves in the left hand. I'm afraid the note of A seems to have crept into our palette, the sixth note of the scale. But I'm not trying to get away from C major. It's just it's kind of a stylistic thing. So we've got these octaves going on, and then we've got little staccato chords in the right hand. First one in the left hand held, thereafter staccato and little staccato chords on the offbeats. But they're not quite on the offbeats. What we're doing here is taking the 4 beats and changing it into 4 lots of triplets. Now, don't let your head spin about this. This may be very simple to you, but you may wonder what on earth I'm talking about. We're just splitting the bar like this. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. So little triplets, 1, 2, 3 on each beat. And instead of just playing on the offbeats, on the 2, 4, 6, and 8, we're actually playing on the last beat of each triplet. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So our chords are coming slightly later than normal quaver offbeat. So it's not this. It's this. And that's what's creating the shuffle feel. That's fairly straightforward. I think you can get your head around that. What about the sort of perennial nightmare of what makes swing sound like swing? The question I often ask to students is when you're playing what are known as swing quavers, and you imagine a kind of saxophone, tenor saxophone player playing how do you actually notate that? Which is a difficult question. And the majority answer is to write it as a dotted quaver and a semiquaver. So you've got a long note followed by a short one, which seems to make some kind of sense. It does sound as it is what happened. The first quaver is indubitably longer and the second is shorter. So I always say to them, right, okay, so we're going to do dotted quavers and semiquavers for each set of 2 quavers. And then we get a thing like, if we play a tune like In the Mood, it will sound like this. At which point they sort of laugh sheepishly and go, oh, okay, fair enough, maybe that's not a good way. It sounds like jazz played by a computer. Or a classical musician, indeed. So then people have a little think and say, well, what about if we go back to our triplets from the shuffle and play it in the triplets? And I say, okay, let's try that. So we are 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. And it would sound like this. Now that's slightly less kind of like shoulders up tense than the first example. But it still sounds very formulaic. It doesn't really sound like it's got that nice, easy, groovy, for an old-fashioned use of word, swing feel. It still sounds too much as if you're kind of doing it very mathematically. So what really is happening with those swing quavers when you're going to... Actually, they're much closer to straight, even eighths or quavers than you would imagine. There's a sweet spot somewhere between triplet and regular quavers, and most great sort of jazz musicians will be somewhere in there, and it's an incredibly subtle thing. And you may think you've mastered the swing feel after years of playing it, and as soon as you're put in a stress situation, you're in a recording studio with a red light on, or you're on a concert platform, you find yourself tensing up a bit, you'll revert much more to the kind of triplety way of playing, which is a much stiffer, less jazzy way of playing, rather than getting this very nice kind of almost straight quavers, but just a little bit pushed between even quavers and triplets. Now, I know this is sort of quite a difficult thing to understand, to describe with words. It's something much easier to hear. So this kind of very difficult to teach that, and one of the things that I use is to ask people to play a regular scale of C major, but then to accent the offbeats, which sounds very simple, but you'd be amazed how people can struggle with this. So in your 8 quavers, you're accenting 2, 4, 6 and 8. That starts almost inherently to feel jazzy, because going back to our syncopation definition, what we're doing here obviously is accenting the offbeats. And if you listen to I'm accentuating too much. Obviously I'm playing from piano to forte, from soft to loud with doing that. But if you listen to kind of people playing swing tunes with swing quavers, it's just that slight accent on the second one, which is giving it that jazzy syncopated feel. And you can work a lifetime to try and get a great swing feel. And if I were to recommend one piano player who's a great person to look out on YouTube and kind of check this style of swing quavers out, there's a piano player called Hank Jones. The reason I particularly recommend him rather than perhaps some of the more obvious jazz names is I love Hank Jones's playing because he always uses fairly simple harmonic palettes, and he doesn't grandstand, and it's not too technical, but he just has this beautiful relaxed feel with the quavers. So that's what swing quavers are all about. Somewhere between a triplet and somewhere between straight quavers, there is this sweet spot, which is very hard to find. But playing scales with the accents on the offbeats is a good way to start imagining yourself playing in that style and hearing it. And you have to record yourself and listen back to it mercilessly, because you may think it's great and then you hear it back and you think, wow, that's so much stiffer than I thought it was. So just putting that all into practice. Kind of jazz feel using those quavers. Not my strong suit, but you get the idea.